Oh my goodness, that had to be one of the craziest race weekends I have ever seen in my life. The Roval did not disappoint. Honestly, this entire race weekend can only be summed up in the words of Cup Series winner Chase Elliott. Holy moly. Welcome into the fifth turn. All right, everybody, welcome into the fifth turn. So good to have you here. My name is CJ Ward. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. The Roval. Man, oh man, I hope they keep this track for a long, long time. What a race. Both the Cup Series and Xfinity Series. Such excitement, such drama, such friggin' craziness. Honestly, especially after the Cup race on Sunday, I went away from it asking myself if the thing had even happened. Like, it was so crazy, I could not believe what I had just seen. We'll get into all the racing action from the Roval in just a few minutes. Remember, you can follow the show on Twitter at Fifth Turn, also on Facebook, facebook.com/The Fifth Turn. Also, if you want to get in touch with me via email, you can send an email to thefifthturn@gmail.com, and I will be sure to get in touch with you. My goodness gracious, so much to talk about this week. I'm going to try to keep this show as brief as possible, but man, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, as you can see, thankfully my computer decided to cooperate today, and back to my usual backdrop here with the hero cards and posters and all of that. Good to be back in here. Also, I wanted to start by just sort of unpacking a lot of the news that happened before the race weekend even started, and we got a lot of it to talk about. Also, after we discuss the racing action itself, I also have a new segment of this show that I wanted to start about sleeper storylines heading into the next several weeks and the end of the season. So all of that to look forward to today. Starting off with some of the NASCAR news leading up to the Roval weekend. First of all, silly season's worst kept secret. They officially announced Christopher Bell will replace Matt DiBenedetto in the Levine Family Racing 95 Toyota next season with a crew chief change. Former Denny Hamlin crew chief Mike Wheeler, is the current crew chief of that 95 for Matt DiBenedetto. And Wheels will be transitioning to the role of competition director at LFR, opening the door for Jason Ratcliffe, former Matt Kenseth Cup Series crew chief, now current Xfinity Series crew chief for Christopher Bell. He will be moving up with Bell to be the crew chief of that 95 car next season. Also announced with this deal is an even closer technical alliance with Joe Gibbs Racing for Levine Family, making it a lot closer to what Furniture Row was in years past. I don't know if that 95 car is going to be like essentially a full Joe Gibbs Racing car, but that's kind of how it sounds. Full factory support, a lot more support from Joe Gibbs Racing, so that look for that 95 car with Christopher Bell to see a huge uptick in performance next season. Also, speaking of silly season moves, here's something that literally no one, including the drivers involved, saw coming. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is out at Roush Fenway Racing at year's end and will be replaced by Chris Buescher, former Roush Fenway Racing Xfinity Series driver. In fact, 2015 Xfinity Series champion Chris Buescher will replace Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the number 17 Ford Mustang for Roush Fenway Racing next season. Literally no one saw this coming. Again, including the drivers involved. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. found out about an hour before the rest of us, and Chris Buescher maybe the day before. Honestly, this could be the move that saves Roush Fenway Racing from extinction. The last couple of years, honestly, since about 2014, 2013, Matt Kenseth leaves and joins Joe Gibbs. Really, the only veteran driver that we had there was Carl Edwards, and he won a couple of races, as did Greg Biffle. But after that year, they went winless until 2017 when Ricky Stenhouse Jr. won Daytona and Talladega. Trevor Bayne, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. just never had the results. The cars were awful. It was almost like Roush Fenway never really got their hands on the Gen 6 car. And they brought in Matt Kenseth last year out of retirement to drive the 6 part-time, and he really didn't do any better until like the last 2 races. It took him that long to find anything and get a top 10 in that car. But they brought Ryan Newman into the 6 team this season, and guy made the playoffs and has been running a lot better. And I think Jack Roush kind of looked at their situation and looked at the performance of Ricky Stenhouse Jr., especially in comparison to Ryan Newman, and said, "Hey, we need to make a change here." And a little background information on this move. So 2016, we saw Chris Buescher run and win at Pocono for Front Row Motorsports, which is a Roush Fenway affiliate. 2017, Chris Buescher was still under contract as a Roush Fenway Racing driver, yet he was loaned to JTG Daugherty. 2018 and 19, so the last 2 seasons, Chris Buescher was a full official JTG Daugherty Racing driver, and I think everyone expected it to stay that way for quite a while. And he's been having a career year. He's 20th in points, but he's got that car in contention at a lot of these places. But what no one really realized until just a couple of weeks ago, from what the people at Roush Fenway made it seem like, there was a clause in the contract for Chris Buescher that basically said if JTG Daugherty Racing didn't re-sign Chris Buescher by a certain date, Roush Fenway could take him back, no questions asked. And that date came and went, and there had not been a re-sign with JTG yet. And so Roush Fenway snatched him back and said, "Hey, we want to bring you back into the fold." Jack Roush said in a press conference this weekend, very few times in life do you have the opportunity to undo a mistake. And he felt like letting Chris Buescher go in 2017 was a mistake, and he undid it, and he brought him back. So Chris Buescher will be racing the Roush Fenway Racing 17 Ford Mustang next year, and probably for the foreseeable future. Again, this is a great move for the future of Roush Fenway. Could potentially be the move that saves them from extinction. They've been practically non-existent the last couple of years. I've had a serious uptick in performance this year with Ryan Newman, and with as good of a driver as Chris Buescher is. I think I don't know that he'll win necessarily yet, but that team will improve for sure. Now, also for me as a diehard Trevor Bayne fan, this is, and I got to be careful because you never want to laugh at someone losing their job, losing their livelihood. However, as a Trevor Bayne fan, this is sweet, sweet revenge for me because they did it again. Last season, Trevor Bayne was never told. Roush Fenway never told him at all that they had kicked him out and brought Matt Kenseth in. Trevor Bayne found out about that deal because good friend Michael McDowell basically either texted him or called him and said, "Hey, I read on Twitter that this was happening. Is this real?" And that was how Trevor Bayne found out. And so to hear that they did the same exact thing to Ricky Stenhouse and hear that it was basically a done deal before they ever told him, that does bring me a sense of sweet, sweet revenge. But this does leave open the JTG Daugherty Racing 37, which is not a half bad car. And the 3 names that I'm sort of hearing as far as rumors for who's going to take that seat, and obviously JTG Daugherty Racing only found out about this when we all did, so they don't have anybody picked yet. These are all just names that are floating around. Ricky Stenhouse, those 2 could just swap rides. Daniel Hemrick, also who's out of a ride. And a lot of people are saying Ross Chastain, a guy like that who's hungry for a good ride, could snatch that up. As I'll talk about in just a minute here, he is probably, most likely it's a done deal, going elsewhere. So probably it's going to be between Hemrick and Stenhouse who gets that 37 car. My vote would be for Daniel Hemrick. Other news, remember Las Vegas a few weeks ago? The Friday the 13th Truck Series race at Las Vegas, the playoff cut race. 3 of the 4 Thor Sport Racing drivers, the 3 that were in the playoffs, all blew engines. 2 of them on the same lap and two of them, Grant Enfinger, regular season champ, and Johnny Sauter, were eliminated from the playoffs. And NASCAR and No More Engines basically put out a statement that was like, hey, the engines blew because they did. Like, that was, they didn't really find anything. They blamed like excessive heat and track conditions, but there wasn't really a reason that they determined as to why these engines let go. Thor Sports, I read this week, is in the process of lobbying NASCAR to put Grant Enfinger and Johnny Sauter back in the playoffs. They are lobbying NASCAR to say, hey, this was not of our doing. This was, this was a freak accident. We shouldn't have been eliminated because of this. Put us back in. And we've seen NASCAR in the past do things like this. Remember Spingate a few years ago when they added a 13th seat in the chase for Jeff Gordon after the Clinton Boyer scandal. I really hope NASCAR doesn't do this, and I don't think they will. I think under the leadership of Jim France, under Brian, we probably would have gone down this path because he was all about the gimmicks and the show and the shock value of NASCAR. But Jim France, I don't think is going to do this, and I hope he doesn't because again, it would be such a gimmick and totally distort everything. The fact is, it was a racing deal. People blow engines all the time. It was a racing deal. It happens. Get over it. Too bad, so sad. Move on. I hope NASCAR says no to this, and I think that is very likely to happen. So just thought that would be worthy of mentioning. Also, final piece of news, Colleague Racing, obviously they won the Xfinity race this weekend with AJ Allmendinger, and they said during their post-race media center press conference that the plan, and I don't know that they've signed this second driver yet, but their plan for 2020 is to run two full-time cars, Justin Haley in the 11 and Ross Chastain in the 10. Obviously, we saw Ross won for them, got their first career win at Daytona a few weeks ago. I was there, loved it, and they are planning to bring him full-time as a Colleague Racing driver of the Nutrien Ag Solutions number 10 full-time in 2020. So that is going to be a good move, and I think Ross, he could go to the 37 if he wanted to, but I think he's got his eyes set on that Chip Ganassi Racing number 1 car. I think he's going to get that car once Kurt Busch retires. Kurt Busch probably is going to stick around for one more year, and I think Ross is still tight enough with the guys at Ganassi that he's going to go over there when Kurt Busch retires. So he's kind of biding his time in Xfinity and trucks until he can get a good Cup ride. That's my guess, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments. All right, that is enough news. Let's go ahead and dive into the racing action. And again, I'm going to try to go through this as quick as I can because I like to try to keep these episodes fairly short. But this might be a longer episode because we got a lot to talk about. So going into the Xfinity race at the Roval, and obviously we know that the Roval had even changed from the inaugural race last year, but with the backstretch chicane being extremely lengthened. But Chase Briscoe came in as the defending winner. Obviously, he was a part-time non-points guy last year. He came in this year, full season rookie year as the defending winner of this race. And it was going to be interesting to see. I mean, he qualified on the pole, and he had a real good shot at possibly defending his win. This was the final known race for AJ Allmendinger. It was his final race of the season. I don't know if he's planning to come back next year and run a full races, maybe in the Colleague 16 as a third part-time car. Maybe run the road courses there. But as far as we know for certain, this is the last known race for AJ Allmendinger, and boy, did he go out on top. We know Ross Chastain still has at least one more race in this 10 car. He's going to be racing at Kansas in a few weeks, so we know he's got at least one more, but this was the last known race for AJ Allmendinger. In qualifying, obviously I talked about Chase Briscoe being on the pole. Great qualifying run for Alex Labay and Will Rogers, both of them making very limited starts in the series this year. Both of them qualified in the top 12. Had incredible runs for those two drivers. Obviously, we remember that at this course, the front stretch chicane is not used on the initial start and then on restarts. So they'll just use the typical tri-oval every restart before they go into Heartburn Turn. There was chaos on lap 1. Tyler Reddick misses the backstretch chicane and would have to do a stop and go on the front stretch. J.J. Yaley ran into the back of Garrett Smithley further back in the field, caused a huge stack out. Now, Garrett Smithley, remember at I guess it was Vegas a few weeks ago, Garrett Smithley got run into by the 18 car. Well, this week, Garrett Smithley got run into by J.J. Yaley, the guy who used to drive the 18 car. So Garrett Smithley just can't seem to catch a break these last couple of weeks. But just absolute chaos. We had a caution for David Starr in the 52, who was stalled on track. Justin Haley had to go to the garage with issues. I think they were electrical issues. I do not remember. The one of Michael Annett, playoff contender, lot of damage. Look, I think he was part of that lap 1 scuffle. Had a just demolished front end of that race car. Tommy Joe Martins, who was driving the 61 for MBM, he had a great run. He was top 10 early in this thing. We had a lot of playoff drivers with issues, and my Xfinity driver, John Hunter Nemechek, who came into this race way below the cutoff line. I was thinking he was going to come out of this race in a pretty decent point situation because so many guys ahead of him in points were having serious issues. Justin Haley was able to get back out on track, several laps down, but he was back on track at least. Chase Briscoe led every lap in the first stage and won it. Good stage points for John Hunter. He ended up P6 at the end of the stage. Then we had a runaway stage win for Christopher Bell. Stage 2 was sort of tame. No, actually, I take it back. Cole Custer won stage 2 after pit strategy, but Christopher Bell dominated it. But again, it was sort of a tame stage 2, not a whole lot of craziness going on. But Cole Custer gets the stage win. Stage 3, huge crash, 4 wide through turn 1. Justin Allgaier in the 7 took it 4 wide, got into the 8 of Ryan Truex, crashed a ton of cars. We had AJ Allmendinger again in the 10, up front all day long, and he actually moved, just put the bumper to Christopher Bell in the 20 for the lead. And we had another caution for the 0 of Lawson Aschenbach, making another very limited start for JD Motorsports. He spun. Christopher Bell missed the chicane after getting crowded by Chase Briscoe. Now, this is where the controversy started. When you look at how they went through the backstretch chicane, 98 definitely crowded the 20, but ultimately the NASCAR rule says, hey, if you miss the chicane for any reason, you must stop because it's on you. And the 98 definitely did crowd him, but there was probably enough room for both cars to get through. And I wasn't sure who made contact with who initially. It was a little hard to tell. But Bell missed that chicane, did not stop, and then just wrecked the 98. Just took him out. That was a big no-no. I was not a fan of that, not only because I'm a huge Chase Briscoe fan, but just I don't like dirty driving. Yeah, that wasn't good, but 7 laps to go, massive chaos. Brandon Jones in the 19, a bunch of other cars spun. We had another crash on the front stretch chicane with Ray Black Jr. in the 07 and Josh Williams in the 36. The 90 of, who was driving the 90 this week? Alex Labay. Again, top 10 all day long, and he ends up finishing 6th in this race. Unbelievable run for him. It was going to be a battle between the 10 of AJ Allmendinger and the 22 of Austin Cindric. Those two were battling for the win at Watkins Glen. Cindric came out on the good deal there. AJ Allmendinger, who hasn't won a NASCAR race, I believe, since when he won Watkins Glen for JTG Dougherty years ago. And he takes the win in this thing, and this time he got to keep it because that car cleared inspection. He's gotten DQ'd almost every other race that he's been in this car. But that car cleared inspection, and AJ Allmendinger gets to keep the win. What a race. Absolute chaos. Austin Cindric actually ends up finishing 3rd in this race without a rear shock. Like, the thing wasn't broken. It wasn't there. He finished this race without a rear shock. Unbelievable. What a race. Absolute chaos there at the end. But AJ Allmendinger ends up getting the win. Let me run through the rest of the results here. Tyler Reddick second, Austin Cindric third, Justin Allgaier fourth, fifth is Noah Gragson, sixth is Alex LeBay, John Hunter Nemechek seventh, great day for him. Gained a lot of points on the cutoff line. He's going to have to count on a lot of people having issues next week at Dover if he wants to make the next round. But had a great day, did exactly what he needed to. Cole Custer 8th, 9th is Chase Briscoe, 10th is Ryan Truex, 11th is Jeremy Clements, 12th is Christopher Bell, Harrison Burton 13th, Lawson Aschenbach 14th, 15th is Michael Annett, 16th is Brandon Jones, 17th Brandon Brown, 18th Timmy Hill, 19th Stephen Light, 20th Josh Williams, 21st Joey Gase, Joe Nemechek 22nd, BJ McLeod 23rd, 24th is Cody Ware, 25th is Vinnie Miller, Josh Bilicki 26th, Preston Pardus 27th, Will Rogers 28th, 29th is Greg Galding, 30th is Ryan Sieg, 31st Justin Haley, 32nd Ray Black Jr., 33rd Garrett Smithley, 34th David Starr, 35th Tommy Joe Martins, 36th Chad Fincham, 37th Bailey Curry after being reinstated for after going through the Road to Recovery program, and JJ Yaley ends up 38th. So craziness in the Xfinity Series. But it sure did not stop there, because then we get into Sunday for the Cup race, and holy freaking crap. If last year was going to be any indication, this was going to be a good race, and it sure was. Ryan Blaney came in as the defending winner after last year through the front stretch chicane. Martin Truex Jr. and Jimmy Johnson took each other out. I knew the Hendrick cars were going to be good. Jimmy Johnson, I picked him to win. You don't luck into a good run there at the Roval the first time you ever go there. And I was not off by a whole lot, because Hendrick cars were good. This was the first playoff cut race, and the 24 William Byron, with a blistering lap, set on the pole. His 5th pole of the year, which is just incredible. He's won the pole for the Charlotte Roval, Pocono, and then 3 of the 4 crown jewels: the Daytona 500, the Coke 600, and the Southern 500. So that 24 car, William Byron, Chad Knaus, qualifying beasts this year. We had a lot of backup cars because practice and qualifying were chaos for these guys. The 88 of Alex Bowman, the 11 of Denny Hamlin, both in backup cars, had to start at the rear. Martin Truex Jr. Had to change an engine after missing a shift in practice, and he had to start at the back. Again, lap 1 chaos in the beginning of this race, and we had a lot of playoff guys miss that front stretch chicane. The 88 Alex Bowman, the 19 Martin Truex Jr., the 20 Eric Jones. Chaos just on that first lap. The 88 misjudged the speed going into that chicane, hit the 3 of Austin Dillon and the 43 of Bubba Wallace. It was not the last time that the 88 and 43 would get into it during this race, and I'll get in there. I'll get to that in a few minutes here. The 24 William Byron just took off. By the time of the first caution, he had an 8-second lead. He was just flawless during that first stage. The 19 missed one of the chicanes again, had to do another stop and go. 48 of Jimmy Johnson, solid P2 run, trying to chase down teammate William Byron basically the whole first stage. The 47 of Ryan Preece. This was where the controversy started in this race. NASCAR ran their officiating was awful during this race. They were embarrassingly inconsistent when it came to calling cautions. They called cautions for things that did not deserve it, and things that probably did, because there were cars all over the place and very in the way. They let it stay green. So I didn't understand that. It was not good at all. Not a good look for NASCAR. They need to work on their officiating when it comes to these kind of things. But the 47 Ryan Preece spun through the back chicane. It was not worthy of a caution because he was not in the way of anybody, but the yellow came out. 24 stayed out. They had to get stage points. They were only 2 points above the cut line coming into this race. He did not get a good restart. 42, it was hard to tell if Kyle Larson jumped the start or if William just didn't get a good one. It was close. Big pile up on that restart through Heartburn Turn. The 88 Alex Bowman, the 20 of Eric Jones. This would actually knock him out of the race and out of the playoffs. 48 of Jimmy Johnson was in it. The 1 of Kurt Busch. The 11 Denny Hamlin. Chris Buescher in the 37. It was just a big chain reaction. Everybody was slowing down. The 1 rear-ended the 37, who rear-ended the 48, who rear-ended the 88, who sideswiped the 20. It was chaos. It was absolute chaos. Stage 1 ends under caution. Larson takes it. Byron second. And then Kyle Larson got a pit road penalty. He dragged a crew member out of the box. And that is a pitting outside the box penalty. So huge deal for that 42 car. Michael McDowell was having a great run, and the reason why that was so impressive, we know he's one of the best road course racers out there. However, he missed practice on Friday because he was in the hospital passing kidney stones. And later Friday, he qualified the car and ran the car the whole weekend. Unbelievable. That was cool to see him just grind the thing out all race. That was impressive. Chase Elliott looks really, really good all throughout this race, and he was just consistently one of the fastest cars on the track. He took the lead. The 24 and the 48, who obviously were shooting for stage points at the end of stage one, they pitted at the end of the stage during the stage break, and they were working their way back through the field pretty quick. They were looking real fast. The 6 of Newman was plummeting, and he needed a good day because he had a phenomenal top 5 run last week at Richmond, and had a solid points buffer above the line. And he was just struggling all day long, plummeting through the field. Joey Logano, defending series champion, played the pit strategy a little differently, and immediately after coming off a pit road, slams into the tire barrier and had a lot of damage. Not good at all for him. Martin Truex Jr., after missing the chicane so many times, he's back in the top 5. Excuse me. And then we had a very interesting deal. The 88 and the 43 found each other again. Apparently, Bubba Wallace was flipping him off like every single lap, and eventually Alex had enough of it, and Alex Bowman just took him out, just totally wrecked the 43. That was not okay. I didn't like it. It was certainly some drama, but again, I don't like dirty driving, so was not a fan of that. And their drama didn't end there, and I'll get to that in a few minutes here. Moving on, again, pit strategy. Most everybody pitted at the end or at the caution flag. Chase Elliott just flew to the stage 2 win. Unbelievable speed in that 9 car. 24 got some more stage points, which would be crucial for him. This was phenomenal racing all day long. We had the 8 of Daniel Hemrick, who spun. The 12 of Ryan Blaney had a suspension issue, got into the wall, had a lot of issues, and he would have to battle back if he wanted to make the playoffs. It was an impressive run for him. And then we had just unbelievable Chase Elliott from the lead on a restart, missed heartburn turn and plowed into the wall. And we thought, we counted him out. There was no way. There was absolutely no way. He managed to rebound pretty well. He restarted 37th, was coming fast. He was still consistently one of the fastest cars on the track. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson missed the chicane pretty late in this thing. Pit stop cycle through. The 12 of Ryan Blaney just threw a Hail Mary, had to do whatever they could to beat the 6 of Ryan Newman. So he took fuel only on that pit stop. And if he could hang on those old tires, it was a beautiful call because it put him way ahead of the 6 in points. Again, watching the points racing, this is one of the things that I do love about this playoff format is the excitement and the edge of your seat action that the points racing causes, especially when everybody fighting for the transfer spots is that close in points. It was incredible, totally on the edge of my seat all race long. We had a caution for the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse. Again, NASCAR just embarrassingly inconsistent on these pit calls because the things that they would throw cautions for, we could have easily stayed green because the cars were so far out of the way. We had the 18 and the 36, Kyle Busch and Matt Tifft, after their issues, they were definitely in the way of other cars. NASCAR didn't throw the caution for them, so I didn't understand that. Clint Boyer had an epic three-wide move on the restart. Solid rebound for the 88 after getting in so many issues, and he's rebounding, moving back through the field. The 11 of Denny Hamlin spun, and he collected the 40, the 6 of Ryan Newman and a couple of other cars, it was major damage to the 6 of Ryan Newman. The front end was just totally caved in. I think it was the 47 of Ryan Preece. That was the other car. We had another caution for the 41 of Daniel Suarez, who ended up stopped in the grass. Just so many spins, so many cautions, so many crashes. Epic racing. The bubble battle was between the 88 and the 6. Both of those cars were beat to crap. We had another caution, the 37 of Chris Buescher, the 1 of Kurt Busch into the wall. and we had a red flag, and I was so grateful for that red flag because we were just wasting laps trying to get everything cleaned up. Kyle Busch had some kind of an issue, and he just gave up. He parked the thing during that red flag. Chase Elliott on the restart. Chase Elliott in the 9 got that lead back and just took off. Again, with a car that missed turn 1 and plowed into the wall. He just took the lead again. And then we're wondering the battle. The 88 was the first guy out, and the 6 was the first guy in. And the 88 was picking up spots, and he had closed it down to, I believe it was 1 point that separated them. And Eric Almirola, who was the next guy down in the points, was pressuring that 6, trying to get as many spots as he could. And I don't know if Almirola pressured him or if Newman just made a mistake. Newman missed the backstretch chicane and had to stop, and it was over there. And the 88 is in after all of his drama. What a crazy race. Vicious crash on the last lap between the 8 of Daniel Hemrick and the 41 of Daniel Suarez. Hard crashes for those two. And Chase Elliott wins this thing. Again, he missed turn 1 with like 45 laps to go and went on to win. Unbelievable. Second road course win of the year. 3rd of his career. 3rd win of the season, I believe. 6th of his career. So unbelievable race. Unbelievable, and just such class from Chase Elliott because he didn't do a donut burnout. He ran into the wall at the same place that he hit it in turn 1 and just did his burnout there. Just unfreaking believable race. Before I get into the rest of the action, let me go ahead and run through the results of this race. Chase Elliott takes the win. Alex Bowman ends up finishing 2nd. What a rebound for these Hendrick cars. Kevin Harvick is 3rd. 4th is Clinton Boyer. 5th is Brad Keselowski. William Byron ends up 6th and will advance in the playoffs. Again, he went from finishing like 20-something in points last year, missing the playoffs, to now he's going on to round 2. This is awesome. Martin Truex Jr. 7th. 8th is Ryan Blaney. 9th, Jimmy Johnson. 10th, Joey Logano. 11th, Matt DiBenedetto. 12th, Michael McDowell. 13th, Kyle Larson. 14th, Eric Almirola. 15th, Ty Dillon. 16th, Paul Menard. 17th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 18th, Chris Buescher. 19th, Denny Hamlin. 20th, Kurt Busch. 21st, Ryan Preece. Ross Chastain, solid day for Premium in 22nd. 23rd, Austin Dillon. 24th, Bubba Wallace. 25th, Matt Tifft. 26th, Parker Kligerman. 27th, Corey LaJoie. 28th, Landon Castle. 29th, J.J. Yaley. 30th, Timmy Hill. 31st, Joe Nemechek. 32nd, Ryan Newman. 33rd, Daniel Hemrick. 34th, Daniel Suarez. 35th, David Reagan. 36th, Garrett Smithley. Kyle Busch is 37th. Josh Bilicki, 38th. Reed Sorensen, 39th. And last in 40th is Eric Jones. The drama did not stop there. After the race, Bubba Wallace went looking for Alex Bowman, and he got to him. Alex was wiped out, and this is where we have a serious problem. Alex was wiped out, being treated, looking for medical attention because he was sick coming into this race and so dehydrated from how hot it was. And Bubba Wallace literally just threw his Gatorade bottle in the face of Alex Bowman. Now, that was uncalled for enough. What made it even more uncalled for was the fact that the guy who was kneeling in front of Alex Bowman, checking on him, who also got possibly even more drink to the face than Alex did, was Jeff Gordon. You don't splash water in the face of Jeff Gordon. So that was craziness. Again, you don't hit a man when you're down. I understand you're upset, and I understand, we love when tempers flare, but there were better, classier ways to handle that. So you don't hit a man when he's down. But yeah, so the 4 drivers that were eliminated after all of that craziness, Hendrick Motorsports put 3 cars in the next round. Unbelievable. But the 6 of Ryan Newman, the 10 of Eric Almirola, the 1 of Kurt Busch, and the 20 of Eric Jones are the 4 that are going to be eliminated, or that have been eliminated from the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. So, the round of 12, heading into Dover, Talladega, and Kansas. Here are your 12 drivers still in the playoffs. Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, and Clint Boyer. So those are your those are your round of 12 drivers. Interesting to point out, the 3 races in this next round, Dover, Talladega, and Kansas. Chase Elliott has won at all 3. Just interesting fact there. So yeah, crazy epic race weekend. I love the Roval. If only NASCAR would just be more consistent on their caution calls. This race is here to stay. Absolutely. No doubt in my mind. So just unbelievable weekend of racing. Probably the absolute single craziest race I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, that was awesome. Before I go, as I mentioned, and apologies that this video is a lot longer than I wanted to. I'll try to keep this new segment short today. But yeah, I got a new segment that I want to start called Sleeper Storylines. And this is just storylines that I think are interesting to point out going into the end of the season that I don't think are getting quite the attention from either the midweek NASCAR shows or the broadcasters. I just don't think these stories are getting quite the coverage that they should. First of all is Jimmy Johnson. I've got 3 storylines that I want to tackle. First of all is Jimmy Johnson. Reason number 1 is because he has kept the beard off and nobody's talking about it. And maybe that is why he's getting better. Nobody's talking about the fact that after Darlington, he still does not have a beard. He got rid of it and has kept it off, and nobody's talking about it. And I just think that's a little interesting. Sort of reaching back into his past, trying to go back to his roots a little bit, and it's showing because very quietly and without a whole lot of coverage, Jimmy Johnson is a top 10 car, like consistently, not just at a couple of places. That 48 car is back solidly, consistently in the top 10. In fact, I would venture to say he's one of the best Hendrick cars right now. I think consistently week in, week out, the 24 William Byron is probably the best Hendrick car, followed by the 48 of William Byron, followed by the 9, followed by the 88. 48 of Jimmy Johnson, excuse me. 24, 48, 9, 88, I think is probably the order of solid, consistent performance. Obviously, Chase Elliott won this week and had the best car by far, but all 400 cars are seriously improving. I think week to week Williams the best, but Jimmy is right there, and nobody is talking about the fact that he is a solid top 10 car again. He and Cliff Daniels have found something, a serious something, and nobody's talking about it, and I just think it's very, very interesting. Storyline number 2, the battle for the Truck Series Championship. I think, and this is not just because I'm a massive fan, I think when you look at the performance over the last couple of weeks, obviously Brett Moffitt won the first 2 playoff races, but I think you've got to look at Ross Chastain excuse me, as the favorite, even over Brett Moffitt. And I got one reason for you, Vegas. Not only did Ross Chastain dominate that race, he didn't win it, Austin Hill won it, and you're going to have to watch out for him. He's the sleeper of these Truck Series playoffs. But I think you've got to look at Ross Chastain as the Truck Series favorite over Brett Moffitt because of that 1.5 mile speed at Vegas. Both trucks finished in the top 10, but Ross dominated and finished second, and I think Brett Moffitt was like 7th, somewhere around there. Ross just smoked him with 1.5 mile speed. And our finale, our series finale, is at Homestead Miami Speedway, which is 1.5 miles. And if you've got the best 1.5 mile speed, you're very likely to win this championship. So, sleeper storyline number 2, I just think you've got to look at Ross Chastain as the favorite for the Truck Series Championship, even over Brett Moffitt. And our final sleeper storyline, number 3, the 2020 Cup Series Rookie Battle. Everybody's talking about if we get the big 3 up, and we know that Bell's in, we're pretty certain that Reddick is in. We don't know about Custer, but if the 2020 Rookie Battle ends up being between the 95 of Christopher Bell and probably the 8 of Tyler Reddick, everybody's saying, oh, this is going to be such an epic rookie battle. Those two are going to be slinging it out. Hold up. I don't think that battle is going to be quite as exciting as we all think it is. For one reason, equipment. When you've got, I think those cars years past probably would have been pretty equal, but when you've got a Richard Childress Racing Chevy versus a full Joe Gibbs Racing supported Toyota, I'm sorry, that's no contest. 95 will win that every single time. That 8 is just not good enough of a car to go up against that 95. They were teammates last year, technically, because Levine Family was a Childress affiliate a year ago with Casey Kane. But I just don't think that those two cars are close enough to make that an epic rookie battle. I know Tyler Reddick is a great driver, and he's probably going to improve the performance of that team. But I don't think that those cars are quite as close as they would need to be to make that an epic battle. And so I don't think that the 2020 rookie battle is going to be. It's going to be exciting for sure, just not quite as close and exciting as everybody has been saying that it will be. So that's going to do it for my sleeper storylines. Let me know what you guys think about those in the comments down below. And that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate everybody who watches my videos and supports the Fifth Turn. Please leave a like and a comment and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Remember, you can follow the show on Twitter at Fifth Turn, also on Facebook, facebook.com/The Fifth Turn, and you can send an email to thefifthturn@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with me that way. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next week to talk all about Dover. It's going to be exciting. Take care, and I will see you guys next week.